morning. Good morning. It's so great to be in a room with sort of half heads because of the masks and all those things, and that'll have an impact on what we're about to talk about in the next hour. How are you all feeling today? Well, don't answer that just now. I know that's a little bit of a wide opening at the best of times, but right now, given COVID, you can't shout out bloody marvellous or come up to me individually and give me a hug and tell me how you're feeling and how you're doing. But it would be great if we could all shout out bloody marvellous together, wouldn't it? But let's do it slightly differently because of the times that we're in. What I'd like you to do, instead of all, when I ask the question again, all shouting out bloody marvellous, internalize that bloody marvellous. Give me that energy mentally. Project it to me on stage and to the people round about you when I ask the question again, which might sound ridiculous, but I'm sure we can all do it together. So let's go for it again. How are you all feeling today?
Bloody marvellous!
There's always a sound engineer who's socially distanced that you can rely on. Thank you very much. That energy in the room, albeit a little bit muted today, is the energy I want to talk about first engagements, first impressions, when we speak to people and engage with people to build relationships. And there's one word in particular that I think that we use, we don't realize its impact, we don't realize when we're using it positively or negatively, that to me, when it's used in that way, negatively, it's the worst four-letter F word out there. It's one of these words that are bandied about all the time in everyday conversation. Sometimes, most of the time, it's meaningless. Much of the time, it can be negative or destroying to somebody at the receiving end of it. Yep, I'm talking about fine. F-I-N-E. Now, today, we're going to be focused on fine as a thing. Fine is my thing. And we'll be talking about you trying to find your thing that can make a difference. And you might think that one word can't make a difference, but used correctly, we'll be talking about the power of fine. We'll talk about its positive impact because we're here in the northeast of Scotland, and we use fine differently here than we do in many other parts of the world. But also, it's the negative impact of fine and what it hides and what it disguises as we move through our everyday lives. Now, once we discover our fine in the next few minutes or few days or few weeks, I don't want you running out of the room after my talk, whooping, punching the air, shouting, of course you can't do that, and changing the world in the next 24 hours. But that's because you would miss some fantastic other speakers coming later in the day. And that impact of fine has been bugging me for a long time. It's been one of these things that here in Aberdeen and here in the northeast of Scotland, we use fine in a different way, but it's expressed differently in other parts of the world. Let me give you an example. That was an AFA fine piece in cup of tea. Used in that context here in the northeast of Scotland, fine elevates that piece to legendary status, Michelin star status to some people. And for those of you who don't know what a piece is, let me explain. A piece is more than a nibble. It can be savory or sweet. It's certainly not a meal. It's probably a snack. It's a piece. But when you combine that piece with fine, it elevates that sponge cake or fruit scone to legendary status where tea-sipping cyclists and Sunday-driving grannies will drive miles out of their way for one of those Empire biscuits and a fine brew. You know what I mean. And using that power here in the northeast of Scotland, capturing that power that we use on a regular basis and we've come to use so much of our lives, whether you're born or bred here or you're an adopted Aberdonian, you know the power that fine can have, positive and negative. And I'd like for us in the next few minutes and over the next few days and weeks to see how we can adopt that power, change little things that we do, find your fine and make things better for you and for other people. So, fine is my thing, but today we're going to think about your thing and try and give you the power to discover your thing. And that's where we're heading. And from my point of view, I'm a guy who sends and receives a lot of email. We all do. That's the type of business that we're in, and we've been doing this for a long time. And the reason I do this is I'm trying to get people to buy into my ideas, my innovations, my creations, my products, my services. I'm trying to get movement and people to work with me. But the only way I can get people to work with me, and the only way you work with someone, is through confidence and trust. So traditionally, we all have seen those emails. We've all got those subject lines that are promising us a world if you click below the line. And I thought over the last couple of years, and certainly over the last 16 to 18 months, I needed to change how I opened up conversations. The important part for me was, how I changed that intro line, not the subject line. I wanted to go below the subject line. I wanted to start a conversation between you and me. I wanted to open up a conversation between me and you. But traditionally, I would send an email to Dave. Now, I send emails to more than Dave, let me just be honest here, but Dave's an example. You get where I'm coming at from here. I hope you're well. Dave waves back, and that's great. But let's think about I hope you're well just for a second. It's a bit of a ridiculous opening, really. Argumentatively, you could argue the toss in this one, but I hope you're well. Of course, I hope Dave is well. I don't hope he's got a broken leg or an eye full of sand. Of course, I hope he's well. But sending an email like this with the opening line in this way, the usual response is, yeah, fine, thanks. Yeah, I'm okay. And Dave would jump into the body of the text or the meat of the message, forgetting the option or the opportunity for us to engage. Why wouldn't he? He's busy. We're all busy. We've all got stuff to do. Let's just get to the point. It's fine. But I think with a small tweak, we can make things better. So I mixed things up a little bit. Started emailing Sue. I email more people than Dave and Sue, just to put it into context again. But I started asking the question, how are you, at the start of my emails? And by changing my intro, changing my opening to the conversation, and it just happened to be in a written format, I got a set of different responses. My conversation started to be things like, I'm great, thanks. How are you? Thanks for asking. I'm pretty good. Flat out right now. You know how it is. The email went from a broadcast to a communication pretty quickly. Don't get me wrong, I still get ignored, by the way. I still get deleted, by the way. And I still get I'm fine, thanks, by the way. But more and more, I've seen a positive interaction right at the start of the email where we've got time to stop and ponder and reflect on the us part of what we're doing in that communication instead of just, what is it you're after? What is it you're trying to sell me? What is it you're trying to pitch? And for me, I found this really important. I'm a social type of guy. I'm a person who takes their energy and gives their energy with and to people. I need a recharge of people. People top me up when it comes to my energy levels, so I seek people out. So in the last 16 to 20 months, this has been really hard for me. My energy levels have been low because I haven't had enough power sockets to plug into. And I've been desperately seeking how to engage with people in a better way when we physically couldn't get together. Those energy levels started coming back to me through those emails that I was creating conversations and interactions with. And at about the same time as I realized I was suffering a little bit from low energy levels and couldn't be topped up and was finding that harder and harder to do, I saw it in other people. I saw it in other people in terms of their mental space and their physical space, where they were at internally, and externally. I saw all this happening round about me in a daily, two-dimensional, uninteractive video wall that we all have and we've all been used to over the last period. There's no energy from there. There's no heat from there. There's no substance to that in real personal terms. And that's when fine started becoming a problem for me, quite some time ago, but really focused in the last 24 months or so. It's that disacknowledgement sometimes of a state or a place that we're in, internally or externally, that can be easily hidden by silence or by the small word fine. It's a contributor to mental illness, our state of mind internally, when we're not engaging with people and we're not getting that charge or that opportunity to download or upload. It reflects on us and how we behave, and it has a major contribution to mental illness, as I say, which is the second largest contributor to burden in health services globally. Cardiovascular diseases are the main one, but mental illness is close second behind that. And fine plays its part, I believe, in that mental state. In Scotland, we have terrible suicide rate figures. Nearly 75% of people committing suicide are men under the age of 35. In the same age group, it's 23% in women. Scotland records twice the suicide rate of England, our nearest neighbour, and in last year it increased by 6%. These are not global statistics or a pandemic somewhere else. This is affecting us individually right here on our doorstep, and we should own these statistics. They are not someone else's numbers. And I believe together, with a degree of interaction and participation, we can all make a difference there. We can all help change our mood and our mindset and to be much more positive and much more open. These statistics are particularly frightening for me as a husband and a father, as a mate, as a chum, as a godparent. Because as a Scots man, I know we are terrible at opening up. We're not great. It's built into our DNA to say things are fine. And certainly, we're not open enough, young enough in our lives. So that gave me an opportunity, and us at home an opportunity, as a family, to think about how we change things from that one-word answer at the end of the school day. Because at home, we are the same as every family the world over. That third-degree interrogation the parents give the kids when they get in the back of the car or the front door closes. What did you have for lunch, Katie? Cameron, have you got any homework? How was your day at school? Athel. And you combine, those are my kids, I'm not making those names up, by the way. And the usual responses, top of the list would be fine, I don't know, I can't remember. Or the international response to your parents when you're a teenager, ugh. So we try to mix that up a little bit, not because we wanted to know they had smoky bacon crisps and a bottle of Fanta for lunch, but because we wanted to start a conversation. We wanted to keep a conversation with our children, and we wanted to give them a space that they could converse in and be happy to do so. We changed it around a little bit. How's that new geography teacher getting on, Cameron? What did you learn today, Athel, that made you smile? Were you late for sports again today, Katie? One of those is probable. And I tell you what happened there was we changed the engagement. With a small change at the start of the conversation, we got responses back from our children. It gave them the confidence to actually have a conversation and stop hiding behind silence or the comfort blanket of fine. And what it started doing is allowing them to be interested and interesting in themselves and other people. They amassed knowledge about where they're at, what they were doing, and where they were going. They started to converse with themselves and their friends. They were able to offer advice and gain advice, and they were able to share that as and when it was needed. And that's carried them through into the life that they're in now. They're able to care and share. And that's really important, and one of the main things that we've given them moving forward. So from our point of view, we've enabled our children through a small change, which was fine. It's the only 4-letter F word we ban in the house, by the way. But it's allowed them to carry on and be relevant in their space, be interesting, and be on the front foot when they want to, and be relaxed enough and confident enough when they don't need to be. So you might be thinking, fine won't change anything, but fine is my thing. Fine is the thing I've brought today and I've carried around for a while and I've taken action on with the support and help of others. What I'd like you to do is find your thing. What's your fine? What's the thing that you do that perhaps you could change that would make a positive impact for yourself and people round about you? It's a little bit like those incremental gains that sports superstars talk about all the time. Lots of small things making a big difference. Very seldom does one big thing make a big difference. You don't get a six-pack by going to the gym once, but you do get a six-pack by caring about it, being consistent about it, and taking action, and being persistent. And that's what I'd like you to do today. You might think you don't have a fine. You might think you don't have a thing, but I bet you do. And if you need to find it out, find a friend that you trust, a family member that you like, of course you love them, and work with them. Find what that thing is and develop it and bring it out. Make it something that you can own and you can care about and you want to change, and listen to the feedback that you get. Take it on board, but do listen, do think about it, but more importantly, do act on it. And from my experience, and my friends' experience, and our family's experience, once you find your thing and you're persistent with it, and you use it, it will make a difference for you. It will help you listen better. It will help you talk better and communicate better. And trust me, I really think you will feel better by doing it. Of course, if things are bloody marvelous, you've got to share that too. Because it might just be that injection, that prep, that boost that you and whoever you're with needs. And that would be just dandy. Thank you very much.